taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind?
You know, God, I'm gonna send you something via Stephen A. Smith.
Okay.
I want to send you this. He played this a couple days ago. This is in reference to Antonio Brown. We all know Antonio Brown went to the Raiders a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And Stephen A. Smith had a lot to say about how Antonio Brown was going about the whole situation.
Okay.
So I think I just sent that to your computer. And if you want to grab that, and then we could play a little bit of that, you could stop that whenever it's a 10-minute clip, and we'll be definitely engaged. But whenever you wanted to stop that and kind of let's give some commentary and context to this.
No doubt.
Because it kind of ties into what we're talking about, but throws a little 1 cent of truth in it. Now, we all know our man Stephen A. Smith grew up liking that brother, really enjoying his commentary, his work with the Philadelphia Inquirer. Loved him on on ESPN2, but quite frankly, really rolled with him with his work with the Sixers and things like that. Was supportive of him when it came to First Take, but then he started shifting in that, and we started seeing a little bit of a different side.
The millions started to come in.
You feel me? So we've been a little critical of him as of late.
Yeah.
And definitely cross-examining or having rebuttal to a lot of his commentary. He said this on his radio station, was very heartfelt about it. I want to play a little bit of it. Now, you haven't heard any of this, and let me just get your thoughts on it.
All right.
Stephen A. Smith alone. Jonathan Winthrop, my producer, is not responsible for this. Nuno Teixeira is not responsible for this. Cat Pastor is not responsible for this. Troy Keller, Justin Craig, Marsha Keegan. Nobody's responsible for this. Dave Roberts, Nobi Williamson, Jimmy Pitaro, Connor Shell. Nobody's responsible for this. They gave me these airwaves. I'm obligated to be responsible, and I will be. But I'll be damned if I'm going to bite my tongue in the process. This is the Stephen A. Smith radio show until further notice. And I'm going to say what I feel, and I mean what the hell I say. Because you see, when you bring up the issue of, in this particular case, the weed involving David Irvin and others, you know, you have a lot of people that aren't happy about what I have to say. The belief is simple. Getting on, fellas, for smoking some weed. I'm not taking the perspective that folks want me to take. As a black man, you know, I seem to be against the brothers and all of this other stuff. You know, I take a lot of that ignorant dribble a lot. But I got to tell you something. Excuse me. Hello. I can hear you. Got a producer there. I was just letting them know my listeners here. Okay. Let me be very, very clear. I am a person that doesn't wish harm or bad luck on anybody. I am pro-human being. I'm certainly pro-American. I think this is the greatest country in the world. We put ourselves first. We should put ourselves first. But I am an unapologetic black man who loves my people, my community. And I don't speak for everybody because we're not one monolithic voice. We don't all think alike. You don't see one of us and get to assume that all of us think the same and act the same and believe the same. We're diverse just like any other ethnic group in this nation or this world. But there's a lot of things that are shared by folks culturally, I guess, and it is what it is. Let me state my position very, very clear. When it comes to the issue of weed or various other things that pertain to the African-American athlete or African-Americans, period, I'm about what works. I'm about pragmatism and what's real. I'm not about some utopia that other people defer to or lean on. When you watch me on First Take, every weekday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific, and when Max Kellerman comes on and says something, and I'm not lambasting him, this is not a criticism towards him, that's my man, please don't get me wrong, but he comes from a different perspective. And he can sit up there being white, okay, being Jewish, being Ivy League educated, highly intellectual. He can come from a perspective of utopia and talk to you about how things should be all day long. And guess what? He's not wrong. but he's either unrealistic or oblivious to the effect and the impact that it would have on me and black people all over the place. And guess what? He's not alone. When I saw Antonio Brown on The Shop the other day, and I was listening to his words, I'm thinking about all that support that he had around him, but also the impracticality that came associated with them. You LeBron James, you Maverick, and you're sitting there nodding your head, yeah, speaking and sticking out your chest and encouraging him to be so open and forceful. LeBron got $153 million guaranteed for the Lakers. LeBron James is already set for generations to come. He's accumulated nearly $1 billion, if not more. Antonio Brown needs a check from the NFL. Where you think all that dribble gonna get him? Nobody thought to stand up and say, damn, this could work against you, bro. I didn't say debate whether it's right or wrong, because we know it's probably wrong. We know what the NFL gets away with. We know what the owners get away with. We know this ain't baseball where Bryce Harper gets paid $330 million guaranteed, every penny of it for 13 years. We know this ain't the NBA where LeBron got his $153 million. We know where this ain't the NBA where Russell Westbrook gets $217 million, where Steph Curry gets $207 million. This is the NFL. What about his money? That's what I'm thinking about. I told it on the show this morning, and I'm going to say it again. Snoop Dogg gave new meaning to the green room. Gives to new meaning. We all know he smokes some weed unapologetically. I said the same thing for years. Everybody, Stephen A. sellout, Stephen A. this, Stephen A. that. I bring Snoop Dogg on national television. I said, Snoop, have I ever said anything to you about weed? He said, never a word. I said, why am I complaining about the weed with the athletes? He said, because you know it's going to cost them their money. Years ago, when Allen Iverson used to argue with me again, you know that's my brother. And he used to argue with me about being real and being raw and being unapologetic. I said to him, yo, man, I totally agree with you. Can I ask you a question? When you got drafted, what were you wearing? Remember when Allen Iverson showed up in 1996? He had on a suit. He was looking fly. Ladies and gentlemen, he didn't have cornrows. He had a fade. He didn't have tattoos on his neck. He was relatively clean because he was trying to get paid. It's only after he got paid that he said, okay, y'all, here we go. What I am saying to you is that those individuals are special. Everybody ain't special. What some people can get away with, millions of people can't. And if I made it, but I'm telling you and encouraging you to do things that ultimately corporate America will frown upon and ultimately squash you because of it. Who's the sellout? Is it me or is it you? If you're the one that is encouraging people to go down a dead-end road, we're rising from that abyss. Leaves you a slim to none chance of success. But I'm the one talking to you about what actually will work and how you can maneuver your way through those minefields in an effort to get your money and to have your success and to be able to provide for yourself and your family and beyond. Who's the sellout? Got a lot of people that want to talk. And they're so quick to give youngsters, particularly from minorities communities, all this advice about being real and raw and authentic. Do you know who are the most honest people in the world? Did y'all ever know? Do y'all know the answer to that question? You know who the most honest people in the world are? Children. Because when they're learning to speak and express themselves and to communicate, all they know is what they know. And they don't have repercussions to concern themselves about because they're children. There's a reason why, as adults, as you grow older, you learn to modify your thinking and your expressions and your form of communication and what you're willing to verbalize. Do you know why that is? Because unlike children, there's a price you have to pay. And because I'm one of those people that is willing to look out enough to point to you the minefields along the way, me and people like me are periodically, by some, not most, not all, but by some, are called sellouts. Who's the real sellout? Somebody that tells you where the minefields are so you can avoid them? Or somebody who tells you nothing and leads you right into the minefield where your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations can blow up in smoke?
All right, now he was talking in reference, I guess, to the marijuana.
Marijuana and Antonio Brown. Now,
Okay.
we all know Antonio Brown was really outspoken in his displeasure, in Pittsburgh, wanting to leave, wanting to get up out of there. He referenced Big Ben. He referenced the coach, Mike Tomlin, organization of the ownership. And a lot of people question that. A lot of people question his antics because, in particular, Stephen A. Smith was saying he wasn't going to get his money if he just kept running his mouth. Like we've heard often. Black people cannot run their mouth. And it's in particular black people. Let's just call it for what it is. Cannot run their mouth because he spoke in regards to black, in a black perspective. Can't run their mouth because the corporate people or the higher that be, the people that cut the checks won't give them their money.
Right.
So we see that Antonio Brown signed for $50 million, $50.125 million with a guaranteed $30 million. Stephen A. Smith was on ESPN First Take today saying that he bamboozled and swindled the Pittsburgh Steelers.
What?
That he got away with it. He wasn't necessarily mad, but took the narrative of being upset about what happened from Pittsburgh, being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, saying they got robbed and they were going to get robbed again. Okay, what's your thoughts on all this?
I was actually listening to a radio broadcast and they were talking about Antonio Brown. It was like, man, like he just set a precedent today because like then now players can complain and get out of the city that they're in. I'm like, well, that's a good thing. What is wrong for people with us like having to be quiet just to take the bag? What happened to the day where we voiced our opinion if we were, not pleasured by a situation? You should speak up. Now, to go to Stephen A. Smith, when he talks about the does it make you a better person if you lead him into the minefield, or the scenario that he gave? He just giving you two limited scenarios. But what about a scenario we go around the minefield or above the minefield? Well, why don't we ever think like that or going head on with this shit? Because sometimes if you go head on with it, one person may have to be sacrificed, but the next person can go straight through. So sometimes you have these people, and I don't expect anything different from Stephen A. Smith because he's a corporate dude. He works for a corporation, ESPN, Disney. So he has to do things a certain way. But I like the guy. I'm from the Muhammad Ali, lineage. The people who will say, man, fuck that. If it ain't right, it ain't right. Give me what I deserve. I'm going against the grain, i.e. Kaepernick at one point. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with the revolutionary approach. We look at this country. This country was, founded by people who went head in, revolutionaries that fought for this country. We all say, the land of the free, the home of the brave. So you can't cower down all the time, man. I'm kind of sick of that. Oh, you gotta, not say this because you got to get the bag. Fuck the bag. Speak up for yourself.
Indeed. And
you still get the bag.
And speaking up for yourself, you get the bag.
Right.
Now, let me say this about Stephen A. Smith. Someone that on the radio is a genius. Behind the microphone is a genius. What he just did and when we just played was masterful. It was dope.
Oh, yeah.
He led his point. He did everything. And if you're somebody on the fence that maybe necessarily needs to be steered in one direction or another because you're not prepared enough to think for yourself yet, and that's no jab. I mean, we all just got to find our time where we really need to genuinely think for ourselves. Then he's great at painting the narrative. Yeah, you need to get your money. Yeah, I understand what he's talking about. Yeah, we may have to settle down on this, tune down on this, tune down on that. giving very limited, like you said, options to the end all be all. Why does it have to be, okay, I'm trying to help you this way through the minefield, or the people because I'm a sellout,
right?
But the people that's not saying nothing, no, they the sellouts,
right?
Well, what are we doing?
Right?
Are we not helping as well? What's wrong with ownership? What's wrong with speaking up? This is a business. Antonio Brown understands his piece in the business.
Right.
The number one receiver in the NFL. Someone's going to pay me my money.
Numbers don't lie.
You won't. And I have enough to put enough attention on myself in a league where contracts aren't guaranteed to the people in the comment section. Thanks for the view. Who are going to just be there talking about, oh, they need to shut up and play and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
When they're putting themselves through car wrecks day in and day out, they're knowing they're doing it, but they need to be properly compensated for doing that. So when you look at a league that doesn't have proper guaranteed contracts, proper pension for their players outside of the league, yes, you do whatever you have to do to get your bread.
Yeah.
And Antonio Brown, although he has some questionable antics off the field, I cannot disagree with anything that he did as far as negotiations, putting in the work that he put in on the field and getting them numbers. He deserved every penny.
And Le'Veon sat out.
Come on, man.
For a whole year. He said, I'm not. So at first, that goes to show you something. You know, when you look at even Pittsburgh, you look at Roethlisberger, we already know about his attitude and think that he, gotten away with. So, yeah, if you got to, asshole, because pretty much they're saying that he's able to do whatever the hell he wants to do and pretty much runs, the organization, runs the team. Le'Veon, he did it. He set out for a whole, year. And, the precedent needs to be set that if you're not happy, that you should not only sit out, but keep voicing your opinion. Remember T.O., they hated him, for doing that in the whole Eagles day, but he was one of the first person who said, no, this was going on. He called the shots, and it may not have been the best thing because they don't like people like that. Obviously, they want you to just shut up and play football. But hell no,
they want you to shut up and dribble the ball, shut up and do this. They want you to appreciate your blessing.
That's
You're
crazy.
Not allowed to have a conversation, do this. But Jesse the Body Ventura or Kane from the WWE can go ahead and hold political office after fucking sitting in the ring and wrestling, entertaining folks for years. But we sitting here with all the platforms that we have. Now, you talk about the NBA and how many billionaires we're about to see on the horizon from them guaranteed contracts. And you going to keep telling these people to shut up when you got LeBron building schools and you just got Steph Curry quietly doing a lot of things. You can't shut them up for long. I seen Steph Curry on the clip. It was something going on between the brother and security, and they were about to get hostile with him. And you could see Steph kind of peeping the situation. He went over there and squashed it, hollered at the dude, the fan. Said something, resolved the whole situation.
They don't want us in power, bro. It's like it seems like they don't want, because it's like one day somebody may get a lead that rivals the NBA or something that rivals the NFL. So I don't like this preaching of just shut up and stay quiet. No, shut up and challenge these people.
If needed to be challenged, absolutely.
Right,
why not?
Right.
I'm not saying ever shut up and be quiet and just take it.
Right.
What are you talking about? No.
Right.
What kind of example are you setting, with all due respect, Mr. Stephen A. Smith, by just telling people to go against the grain and not do this and not do that? You want to know why Allen Iverson didn't have fucking cornrows and tattoos coming out of Georgetown? Because he ain't no goddamn money coming out of Georgetown, Virginia. He ain't no money.
Right.
Second, he got his bread, he got his tattoos, he got what he needed, and he was chilling. He was always Allen Iverson.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Remember, he coming in, he was real controversial, and then he talks about John Thompson. I think it was his name. I hope I didn't get that wrong.
Yeah.
Was influential in his life and kind of mentoring him. He was always kind of like that bad news Virginia, cat. So come on, man.
Come on,
stop.
Say me with that shit,
Stop.
man. And as
but
far
I
as
do respect Steve, but go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. Oh no, we definitely respect Steve. And in regards to the weed and the whole thing, man, listen, you got to school yourself on that, because you giving criticism, and though you trying to there's certain ways to help, and there's certain ways where you look like you're trying to push an agenda. If you genuinely cared for a lot of these brothers out here, you wouldn't say shit about the situation on first take a little bit to the chin, and then go talk to these brothers off camera and let them know you're fucking up a situation. You don't. You tear them apart on airwaves on the number one sports show in the morning, and you really give no proper context into the health benefits that marijuana could have for certain NFL players. How is being legal in a lot of the various states in America, soon to be legalized in all states, but you talk so against NFL players doing it, and you just shun them as the number one broadcast and sports media in the world. What are you doing? What example are you setting, man? You're steering a narrative.
Yeah, and then it's like we need more people, in position, they're going to have alternative views from Stephen A. Smith at this point, because it's just him and Kellerman. Like, come on, man. Even though I love, some of the stuff that they do, I'm not taking anything away from Steve, but we need other viewpoints, man. That's ludicrous.
Agreed.
Definitely, but you're tuned into the Uncensored Truth podcast with your brother, Old God and Sam.